What's up everybody, this is DeAlphaWolf here, and welcome back to Wolf Whales, a channel all about what ifs, fanfictions, and scenario discussions. In part 2 of our What If X-23 joined the MCU scenario, things got a little bit hectic at the Avengers HQ as X-23 got loose and started to make a mess of things. Between smashing Tony under a table and taking a hit from Mjolnir, it's safe to say that she's proven herself to be quite a challenge. After showing just how tough she really was, the Avengers were able to get the better of her and knock her out. So the only question left is, what are they going to do with her now? If you haven't already seen the last part, you should definitely check it out below by following the link in the description, as well as a link to the playlist for the entire series if you want to start from the very beginning. Also, there's a link below for my gaming channel if you're interested in seeing some Let's Plays and some funny moments. So now that we're all caught up, let's continue. X-23 begins to wake up, her body sluggish as she sits forward. She struggles to move her body, noticing a weight around her neck and around her wrists. Looking down, she's shocked to realize she's wearing large metal handcuffs. Her mind begins to recollect the entire fight, and she starts to remember how she was caught. She brings her hands forward and tries to extend her claws, but is horrified when nothing happens. Her mind begins to panic as she tries to rip the handcuffs off, but fails to do so as her strength seems to be gone as well. Her hands move the collar around her neck, which is flashing and beeping. She struggles to pull it off, but once again, she can't do it. She looks around at the container she's being held in, which is very similar to the one that Loki was kept in on the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier during the first Avengers movie, only without the ability to drop out of the sky. Her eyes fall upon a lone person standing just outside the glass window. Charging forward, she crashes into the window, but easily bounces back, not even leaving a scratch on the glass. Natasha stands on the other side, watching as the girl gets back up, roaring in anger and attacking the window again and again as she swings her arms and attempts to break the glass with the handcuffs. The girl is relentless as she beats the glass, her thoughts solely on getting to the woman standing before her.
"You're wasting your time,"
Natasha tells her as she holds her finger on the intercom.
"It took Thor giving it everything he had to break this, and that's without the power dampening collar that you're wearing right now."
The girl doesn't stop though, even as her body begins to tire out.
"What's your name?"
she asks. The girl doesn't answer, breathing in and out heavily from exhausting herself.
"How old are you?"
But still, the girl says nothing. Natasha is getting frustrated because she wants to help this girl, but there's not much she can do until they get her to talk and get some information from her.
"Fine, kid. Have it your way. But you're not going anywhere anytime soon unless you talk."
Natasha turns, hearing one last bang of the handcuffs on the glass before she gets into the elevator and heads back upstairs to Bruce's lab where the other Avengers are currently waiting. Natasha exits the elevator, finding the others all standing around, conversing and waiting for her. Bruce, Tony, and Dr. Cho are currently looking over the broken equipment. Clint, who is now somewhat back on his feet, is resting in a chair with Thor standing nearby, and Steve is going over the files once again with Maria Hill.
"Anything?"
She gives him this look before bringing up a hollow feed of the container, where the girl has resumed thrashing her handcuffs against the glass. "Yeah, I thought not. So anyone want to explain what the hell just happened?" "Well, to put it simply, we just got our butts handed to us by the world's smallest Hydra agent, and that's saying something," she replies at the rest of them. "She's not an agent," Maria says, pulling up the now fully decrypted files for everyone to view. According to some very deeply hidden files, she wasn't just some little girl. She's part of an experiment called Weapon X. Years ago, during Hydra's attempt to recreate the super soldier serum, they began to look into the idea of creating human weapons. Weapons that could be on par with, and if necessary, take out threats to them, such as political afflictions, S.H.I.E.L.D., and even people like the Winter Soldier. But that's impossible. Making humans into weapons like that girl? The human body wouldn't be able to handle it. Not without some type of negative effects. The closest anyone's ever gotten is, well, Cap. Are you forgetting about the 2 enhanced teenagers that kicked our butts just a few hours ago? They were gifted their powers from Loki's scepter. Whatever otherworldly things it did to them, it's not the same as what happened to that girl. They would have to have been doing really ungodly things to achieve anything close to that. Considering how deep Hydra runs, that wouldn't surprise me. I'm guessing that this girl is one of those human weapons. She's not just one of them. She's the only one. Or at least the only surviving one, Maria says, pulling up an image of the girl. She was created almost 13 years ago and is designated as X-23. It was the 23rd attempt at making a human weapon, and the only successful one to have not only survived past the embryonic stage, but to fully grow. According to the records, Hydra had acquired the DNA of an ex-military soldier who was known to have an abnormally high pain tolerance, as well as healing faster than any normal human that they've ever seen on record. A man who simply went by the name Logan, and who was known as the Wolverine. I know him, or I did anyway. He He was a good man, someone who was always ready for a fight, but always looked out for the people in his squad at the same time. I had assumed that he had died years ago, though. Well, apparently not, because after the war, he was drafted into a special battalion that took on covert, under-the-radar missions. Surprisingly enough, surviving all of them. A real regular human mystery. Hydra preyed upon this and acquired samples of his DNA along with some others, though apparently the Y chromosome was extremely damaged, but was intact enough for them to use for experiments, while also trying to make it so advanced that his healing would have been instantaneous. Well, looks like they succeeded, Natasha comments. Kid certainly knows how to take a punch. Apparently Hydra thought so too, even with the other 22 failures. Either way, they got their success. They spent years teaching her, grooming her, preparing her to be as deadly as possible, while also testing the limits of how advanced her healing abilities were. They put her through tests that varied from strength tests to electrocution to removing whole fingers to see if they would actually grow back. That's horrible. Who would do something like that to a child? To them, she wasn't a child, just another weapon. They enhanced her body and her mind. Super strength, super agility and stamina, hyper intelligence and quick learning. Even her senses were turned up beyond human levels. And that's before the claws. Yeah, about that. So what exactly are we dealing with? Because last I checked, kids didn't have metal claws capable of springing from their hands and ripping through other metal. Apparently, an unintended genetic anomaly. When they were making her, there was an error in the process because not only was she intended to be male, she ended up with extra bones in her joints and in her feet. Hydra didn't think much of it until they found out that she could extend the extra bones at will. Though, based on the research, it apparently causes her pain to do so. Well, apparently some genius also thought of the idea of coating it in metal to make them more viable. And would you be so kind as to share with the class what exactly that metal is? It's called adamantium. I don't think I've ever heard of that. It's a man-made metal, Tony answers, walking over to her computer. It was created to be an alternative to vibranium by the US government. Near indestructible, closely guarded secret on how to make, not to mention, costs a serious chunk of change to do so. You seem to know an awful lot about this secret. It's only closely guarded from those who don't know it exists. And Dad wasn't one of them, Tony answers, pulling up his files on it. I had considered making my suits out of it, but the metal's too heavy and wouldn't make very good for flying. Not to mention, its melting point is about 1500 degrees, and once it's gotten to that point, you have about 8 minutes to mold it into whatever shape you want, because after that, it's not changing regardless of how hot you make it. You're telling us that Hydra not only got their hands on this stuff, but found a way to bond hot metal to the extra bones in this girl's hands and feet? It's not just the extra bones. They bonded it to the actual forearms of her skeleton. Marie then pulls up a video showing the girl, X-23, laid out on an operating table during the process of having the metal grafted to her. She was sedated, but there were still clear signs of pain on her face as the process proceeded. Everyone watches, though not very happily, especially Natasha, who has seen some terrible things in her life, but seeing a child being treated this way was very hard for her. Any idea why they had her in a stasis chamber when we found her? According to this, the girl is listed as being wild and hard to control. She became much more aggressive and unapproachable. Can't say that I blame her. They have it written as an unforeseen side effect of all the manipulation of her DNA, and so they believe her to be more animal than anything else. They tried different methods to get her under control, including both physical and mental abuse. Maximov's? Maria nods her head in confirmation. With Wanda being capable of seeing into people's minds, they attempted to use her to get control of X-23, something that didn't sit too well with her apparently. Not to mention, it didn't work. Apparently the cellular regenerative properties of her mind allowed her to block out the control, though she did attempt to attack Wanda and Pietro after she got free. And when that didn't work, they also tried to use the scepter on her directly, and all that did was send her into a fit of uncontrollable rage. After a few casualties here and there, they were able to get her under control again, and they put her on ice till they needed her, or could find a better way to keep her under control. Just when I thought Hydra was done surprising us, Natasha says in disgust. So what do we do with her? What we are going to do is leave her locked up in there so she doesn't break any more expensive equipment or try to take anyone's heads off. Tony, look, Romanoff, I get it. Kid's cute. In a very angry, savage, killer instinct kind of way. But we don't have time to play house and babysit. Thanks for it's going to take Bruce and I even longer to get any work done on the scepter. Not to mention, we now have to push the party back. And that's a lot of really disappointed party guests. So what, we just keep her locked in a prison against her will? I mean, if we do that, we're no better than Hydra. That's right, Tony. We can't just leave her in there like some criminal in a prison. And what do you suggest we do? Turn her over to the government? Because all they're going to do is either try to use her, same as Hydra did, or they're going to get rid of her. And there's no shields for us to turn her over to. So it looks like we're out of options right now. Well, maybe we can find a way to help her. Hey, if you want to go down there and duke it out with her, Bruce, be my guest. I'd pay good money to see if she could take on the Hulk. Well, maybe that's not such a bad idea, Natasha pipes up, drawing everyone's confused looks toward her. I don't mean go in there and fight her, but maybe we can find a way to level with her. Get her to trust us. Considering the little battle royale she just had all over our base, I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon. Survival instincts aren't always the clearest, Tony. Maybe if we talk to her on a personal level, like a person, she'd be more willing to cooperate with us. And how do you plan to do that? One step at a time. First things first, she needs a name. We can't just keep calling her X-23. If we ever want to get her to trust us, we need to treat her like an actual person. She's not a pet, Natasha. No, she's not. And she's not a weapon either. She's a child. A kid. A kid, Tony. A kid whose whole life has been spent being poked and prodded and used. She deserves better than that. Everyone fell silent, looking for one another as they debated or tried to think of any other things they could say to convince her that this wasn't a good idea. Alright, that's what you want? You can go down there and play Mommy Dearest to your heart's content. I, on the other hand, have to go and make new arrangements for the party and get the lab cleaned up. Are you sure about this, Nat? What choice do I have? Someone's gotta help her, and it looks like someone's gonna be me. Yeah, well, good luck. Kid's gonna be something else. Congrats on the kid, Nat. You should probably start thinking up names. I think I can come up with a few ideas, she smirks at him. Natasha spends hours going through all the details about the girl, now known as X-23. As she goes through all the data, file after file, trying to learn all that she could about her and looking for anything that could help her connect with her, she was starting to come up really short. After a while, she just gives up and decides she's gotta go back down there and speak to her herself. X-23 sits on the floor of the containment unit, angry, defeated, and feeling weak. Her attention is drawn to the elevator as Natasha steps out, a tray of food in her hands. Placing the tray on a nearby table, Natasha pushes the button, allowing her to speak once again.
I'm gonna open the door, and I'm gonna drop the food in. Don't try anything.
She waited for just a moment to see if X-23 would respond. When she didn't, Natasha figured that was as good as it was going to get, and picked up the tray, moving to the door of the chamber and punching in the code, allowing it to open. The door gave a loud hiss as it opens, and X-23 backs as far away as she can, watching as Natasha walks inside. Natasha walks to the center of the room and places the tray on the ground before walking backwards and back out the door, closing it once more. She stands outside the glass, watching X-23 as she looks down at the food, still against the wall and not looking very happy or hungry.
It's safe. No one's gonna hurt you here.
When X-23 still refuses to move, Natasha decides to continue to talk.
I know you're angry and have no reason to trust us. I can't say I blame you. If I woke up and got into a fight with a bunch of people and then ended up in here, I wouldn't be too trusting either. But you gotta level with me, kid. I want to help you, but I can't do that if you don't let me. I want to save you from that. From all of this. I know what Hydra did to you. It was horrible, but I promise, it's safe now. We're not Hydra. We're not gonna use you as a weapon, because you're not a weapon. You're a person, and every person deserves to live their own life. One where they don't have to be afraid. And you don't have to be. Not anymore.
Natasha takes her leave, getting into the elevator and heading back to the lab. Once in the lab, she pulls up the screen and gives a small smile when she sees X-23 cautiously approach the food before picking up the fork on the tray and using it to take a small, cautious bite. And that's where we're going to end this part. I hope you all really enjoyed this, and I know I definitely did for sure. I'd really appreciate it if you guys let me know what you thought of the backstory that I came up with for X-23, and if it makes sense and sounds realistic enough that it would be part of the MCU. Also, don't forget to leave a like along with your comment, and if you haven't already, definitely subscribe so you guys can get some more of this, as well as any other stories that I come up with. And I'll definitely see you guys later. Thanks.